G'day. Welcome to Craft with Us down here in Australia. I know my heading's a little bit corny today, but we are in actual fact going to be working with some nesting egg-shaped dies, so it seemed a good thing to do. So thank you for joining us and let's have some fun. We're going to make a couple of different cards today using the eggs and some flowers, my favourite flowered dies in actual fact. So here what I'm doing is I'm just tracing the outline of the largest of the egg dies because these beautiful little spring coloured flowers that I have previously cut out, I'm using the shape as a template, as a guide for me to stick all of these pretty flowers down. All I'm doing now is just placing the egg die on top of that and running it through my die cutting machine. So I'll just remove that from there. And you can see that it's really quite pretty. So we're actually making a embellishment, a fairly large embellishment, that'll go on the front of an A6 card, a side fold card. Right now though, I'd like to make a little frame to go around our egg. So all I'm doing is grabbing the two of the nesting dies, the largest one, which is the size I've already used, and the next one down. And I'm just going to put some washi tape around the edges. You position them so they're fairly even and put some washi tape around. Now you can actually do this with any of your nesting dies to make frames, and it's a really good way of being able to make lots of different shaped frames. So I've used this pretty green and I've just run it through my die cutting machine and you can see the frame that I've made. In actual fact, I also cut out a couple of white ones and I glued them all together to give the frame a little bit of depth. And you can see here that I'm just placing it on top of the little flowered egg that I made. It does look like an Easter egg though, doesn't it? It's very pretty. So all I'm going to do now is put the little centres from different coloured flowers into each flower. So the die that I have actually cuts out the little centres. It helps you make three-dimensional flowers. And so I've just put those pieces to good use. This particular part here, I just wanted to share with you my process for working out the layout of the card. So I'm going to put it on this nice yellow mat. And now I'm just deciding how am I going to decorate it. I want a couple of flowers on the outside. So you can see that I'm just trying a couple of different things. Do I like it? Do I not? I'm going to put it on another green mat and then a white one. So let's have a look. Maybe I'll put the other little dots on it. So this is my whole process of how I put together a card when I'm working it all out. You can see here now I've changed the card base is now black, the actual card itself. And I've decided just to put one layer of flower on there. That little bit of black really adds a lot to the card. I've also adding now some black to the centre of the flower. It's bigger than what the pieces were that were in there and it really brings it alive. So that's my design process and I generally do that with most of the cards that I'm making. So now I'm just, those little black ones as I mentioned that I cut out from a punch that I'm putting in my flowers, and now I'm just using my envelope opener to curl the edges, the petals of my flower, just to break up those fibres and to train them to go in a different way. Don't be too rough though, because you don't want to rip the petals off your flower. So now I'm just going to have a quick look at positioning them. You might see that my purple one's got a little bit of sheen because I did put some Wink of Stella on that one and decided that I really wanted it on all three of those flowers, and then added another black centre to give it a little bit more depth. With my greeting, I cut out three of them with the black and layered them and have placed that on my card front. And now I am just sticking my flowers on. I did use a combination of wet glue and double-sided foam tape to add some dimension to these, a little bit more dimension to the flowers itself. So that is then going to be matted on the green, and then the green is going to go on my black card base. I am just lifting the corners of my tape in two diagonally opposite corners. This is actually going to help me. I'm going to pop it now on my card base here, and then I can press down the two corners when it's perfectly lined up, which I'm going to get my head over the top of it to make sure that that's all good. and then I can pull the tape out. I actually started doing this because I shake quite a lot, and it really frustrated me when I would take all the tape off, or when I'd use tape runner and it never went on straight. So that helps me a great deal. So you can see with this card, I ended up putting a little bit of Wink Stella in the black dots from the flowers in the egg, and I ended up also putting some on the greeting. So now we're going to do a slightly different card. So using the same set of nesting dies, but I've cut some smaller eggs, and we're going to make them balloons. So now to give them dimension, I'm just going to use some of my Distress Oxide inks, which really went with these colours beautifully. And I'm just blending the ink around the edges of the shapes. You can see, particularly with that blue one, how it adds a little bit of dimension to it. Gives it more of a rounded look. Once again, I am just positioning them to see where I want them to be on my card mat. I'm putting these beautiful bright colours on the black because I think it really stands out and looks divine. It's also a nice neutral colour that you could give to either a male or a female recipient without any problems at all. So I'm going to add string to my balloons, and so here I am just putting with on sellotape, standard sticky tape on the back to hold my string in place, and I do this for all of them. My string is actually twine that's got a little bit of silver thread wrapped around the outside of it to give it just that little bit of bling. So just checking once again the positioning of my balloons and where I want them to go. So now that I'm happy with all of that, I'll start attaching them to my card mat there. So a couple of them I do flat with just glue, like that one there, and I use Aleene's tacky glue. I just have it in a small bottle. This one I grabbed some offcuts of craft foam. I'm a bit of a hoarder, I don't like to throw anything away. I'm pretty sure that it always comes in useful. So I've cut that down to size to fit on the back of that. A couple of them have one piece of craft foam, one of them, I think the green one, just has 2 pieces of craft foam, so I've got different heights with the balloons. Now you can see with the threads, I'm literally just tying them together. That ends up being a little bow on the finished card, but it's a really cute way of making sure that everything comes together. So once again, I've layered my greeting. In this case, it just says congratulations. So it could be for a birthday, or it could be for an engagement or a graduation, or anything really, any sort of celebration. I'm once again doing the same trick and attaching that to my card base, which is an A4, an A5, I beg your pardon, folded in half, to give me an A6 card. So once again, I thank you for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this and learned something. If you have, can you please like and subscribe? And I'll catch you next time. Bye.